I thought I'd do a little bit different video this evening. You're dreaming. All of this. This beautiful flower behind you, me, us. It's all a dream. You're in a lucid dream. Many of us are not aware that's what's going on. That's why it feels scary. That's why we're afraid for our lives. And then one day an awakening gets triggered. And if it was like what I went through, things got real lucid. If anyone's ever experienced one of those, it's so funny to think about that. The lucid dream from the 3D matrix is more real than the dream that you're dreaming right now. But, for argument's sake, if you've had a lucid dream, you know you can change things. Your heart's desire is your whim. I had one where I was able to fly. I morphed into a bat after talking with a Mayan shaman. I jumped in the air and it was the most wonderful experience of my life. I didn't want it to end. I was playing with the other bats. So that experience, when you wake up to this reality being a dream, and you realize you're in a lucid dream, you can start steering your healing journey, your awakening journey, into an alignment where you balance your masculine and feminine, you heal the trauma, you become aware of the lucidity of this stuff, this place. It is possible to do anything that you can do in the lucid dream in this realm. Most of us cannot do any of that stuff. We can't change the physical reality. We can't manipulate matter using our minds, or can we? There's purported people through history that have been able to do this type of thing. And I am a firm believer that this was all real, or at least the gist of the story was real. You're dreaming it all, after all. You're God. You are the creator of all of this. You can stay here asleep if you'd like. You can stay unaware of the lucidity. You can stay in fear. But I am absolutely certain that nothing bad can happen to anyone here. You can't screw this up. It's a dream. You're never in any mortal danger. And all you'll do is wake up to the dream you're in. So you get to choose, once you awaken to the lucidity of this place, you get to choose how you live it, how you create here, the experiences you have, what your journey looks like. It's up to you, completely. I don't believe in free will before the moment you wake up. After you start to realize this, and after you get better at embodying that knowing the higher percentage of the time, because this is cyclical. It's a wave. It's all energetic. There's peaks and troughs. It's a upward climb with peaks and troughs. So you're going to have moments where you fall back asleep. And then you're going to learn some lessons. You're going to ground those in. You're going to heal the body a little more. And then you're going to ascend a little higher. And you're a little awake, a little bit more, a little bit longer. For a larger portion of your day. I started thinking about this today because my day was a wonderful day. Now, I slept about 4 hours last night. I woke up, I was extremely tired. I got my son to school and I fell asleep on the couch for maybe 30 minutes. And I have a bit of a cold, sore throat. So I assumed, like every other time, that I would accomplish nothing today. Boy, was I wrong. It felt like there was 2 days in one. This time thing, it's lucid. When you start, this is why this happens. It's so we can start to understand how subjective time actually is. It's a linear progression of events. The actual ticking of the clock, which is ironic because I have this phone balanced on a actual dial clock. The ticking of the clock is subjective to the observer, and you're the only observer. So I accomplished 10 times more than I thought I would today. More than I have in weeks. I still feel relatively crappy, but I had 2 days in one. How do you explain that? Like, without this knowing that this is a lucid dream. Staying in that knowing is the hard part. That is the part that I have trouble with. I have moments of clarity where I absolutely know for certain that that's what's going on. And like I said, then comes the trough. And it feels like you're back to square one and everything's miserable and you're not sure why you're here. Maybe you don't fall back to the point where you don't believe in any of this again, but you wonder of the futility of all of it. Well, once the clock strikes awakening and your awareness starts to settle into this avatar, and you wrestle control back of the avatar, and you less and less likely to have the operating system of this construct, energetic construct that you're sitting in, take over your day, time slows down. Everything seems easier. And there is no end to that. You get to choose. How far do you want to take this? How many years do you want to live? I'm certain that that's a subjective thing. And even I think it might get a little boring, to be honest. After your 100th year of knowing this and realizing that existence can be even more fantastical as you ascend, I think you'd choose to ascend eventually. That's my feeling, but for the next 50 years, I choose to do some fun stuff. I choose for my life to go differently than it has to this point. The lessons have been learned. I know I'm not in mortal danger. There's no such thing. Mortality it's a fabrication. Yes, you can leave this 3D matrix, but I honestly think unless it's written in permanently into your thing, you get to choose that too. So master. These are why the masters are called the masters. They've mastered this knowing. They've grounded that into their bodies. They realize that this is a dream. They've woken up to it and they never fall back asleep. And when someone who is still not awake to the dream encounters someone like that, able to do fantastical things, it seems miraculous. When Jesus said all along, the kingdom of heaven is within you, and that everybody else can do exactly what he's doing. There was nothing special about him in his opinion. He tried to show people how to do what he was doing. But that wasn't the story for that time. That's the story for this time. The time we're in right now is special. And of course it is. You wrote it for yourself. You know, there's a Chinese proverb that says, may you be blessed to be born in interesting times. I don't think there's another option. Of course this is going to be amazing. Why would you write yourself a boring story to come down here and lucidly dream for 100 years? Or 75, whatever you've chosen? That would be ridiculous, wouldn't it? If you were the ultimate creator of everything, so powerful that you could create a lucid dream that is as convincing as anything that's ever been created, but you're going to write a boring story for yourself. It just ends, in a ditch somewhere with a big tax bill. It's crazy. When you realize what's happening, it's amazing. I pray every day to stay in the state that I'm in right now. To stay in this knowing. I want the falling asleep, the trough of the wave, to stop. Of course, that's not how it works until you're fully there. And to me, that's full enlightenment. That plateau where the trough never goes back asleep. You just go to perhaps a lower level of awareness, but never not realizing this is lucid. That's enlightenment. That's where the masters become the masters. And that's where you're headed. Of course it is. You're God. So I think I'm going to leave it there. I can't wait maybe I won't leave it there. I was thinking about this today, about watching the other app and seeing these people who are clearly spiritual beings. I can feel their energy when I see their posts. The other app being the clock app, TT. There's a man on there. I think his handle is GNU Crew, he calls his followers. And he's a homeless man. I knew at the first video I saw, before he had any followers, which was placed in my lap, that he was special. That he's a spiritual being on a human journey. And he's put himself in a very difficult situation. He collects aluminum cans. And his channel is quite entertaining. Go over there and follow him. You'll see what I mean. But Gary is his name. He's had a hard life, and I can see the ascension path for that guy. And I've watched him over the last 2 weeks or longer grow his TikTok channel to 13,000 followers last time I checked, or something like that. He's going to turn that channel into a way off the streets. And I wish I remember her name, but there's another lady who's living in her car, and there's all kinds of difficult situations out there. But these spiritual beings, it's starting to turn. They're finding their way out of these holes that they put for themselves, and their stories to ascension are starting. So Gary, I'll tag you in this. He does have a YouTube channel, which I will tag below. If you see this, you inspire me. You're on a path to ascension. I can see it. I've seen it since I first saw your channel, and I was attracted to it. And I hope you realize that soon. Yeah, if you need any advice, I'm here. So it's happening. It's happening for all of us. We're all in these holes. Various holes, various things we've written for ourselves. But it's happening. And many, many of us are having these successes. And people are starting to get out of these holes. And it's going to be a hell of a ride. It's going to be the best story you can imagine. It doesn't matter what the story is. You're never going to guess it. It's supposed to be a surprise. And it's going to be epic. I promise. Yeah. So here's hoping I stay in the state as long as possible. I'm sure I'll be on here crying tomorrow. But, one can hope that I've reached that stage at some point in the near future. So I'll leave it there. Like I always say, I hope this video finds you well. I love you all, and we'll see you soon.